The last time I stood on that porch, I had a suitcase in one hand and a paper cup of lukewarm coffee in the other. I hadn't slept in 2 nights. My mother had just been buried, and I still couldn't believe the world had kept spinning after. They lowered her into the ground. The sun was out that day. Loud, almost offensive. I kept thinking, why does it feel like summer when everything inside me is frozen? I expected something else when I rang the bell. Maybe silence. Maybe tears. Maybe even a stiff hug from the man who used to lift me onto his shoulders so I could touch the stars on our Christmas tree. But I didn't expect this. He opened the door halfway, like I was someone selling something. His eyes scanned me, my tired face, the bags under my eyes, my shaking hands, and for a second, I thought I saw a flicker of recognition. Then it was gone. "You're not welcome here anymore," he said. Just like that. No explanation. No warning. No warmth. And before I could even form words, before I could say Dad, or why, or please, he slammed the door in my face. I stood there, like a fool, like a lost child. I listened to the sound of the deadbolt sliding into place, sealing off not just the house, but a part of my past I thought was still mine. I pressed my palm to the door, not knocking, just needing to feel something solid. But it was cold, unmoving, just like him. I didn't cry right away. I didn't scream. I just sat on the front step, surrounded by flowers that hadn't wilted yet, watching a neighbor mow their lawn like nothing had happened, like a daughter hadn't just been turned into a stranger by the man who once kissed her scraped knees. I kept replaying it in my head, that final sentence, that look in his eyes, and the one question that caused it all: did Mom leave anything for me? Grief is a strange, shapeless thing. It doesn't ask for permission. It just moves in quiet at first, like a shadow in the corner of your eye. Then suddenly, it's everywhere. In the silence of a room, in the spoon you find in the wrong drawer, in the voicemail you can't bring yourself to delete. After he shut the door, I drove back to my apartment in a daze. I didn't unpack. I didn't eat. I just sat on the floor, knees pulled to my chest, listening to the hum of the fridge and the occasional car outside. I kept thinking she would have hated this. Mom always said funerals were for the living, but she would have wanted me to feel held, not tossed aside like I never mattered. We used to have this ritual. After everyone went to bed, we'd meet in the kitchen. She'd heat up milk, add honey, and we'd sit there, me in an old hoodie, her in a faded robe, just talking about everything and nothing. School, boys, books, dreams. She always smelled like lavender and oil paint. There was this softness to her, a light, even when she was tired, especially when she was tired. "I don't want you to ever feel small in this world, Aubrey," she once whispered. "If they try to erase you, remember I see you." But now she was gone. And suddenly, the people left: my father, my half-brother. They were acting like I never existed. Or worse, like I was some unwanted obligation. I didn't grow up feeling like a mistake. Not until lately. Not until my mother started getting sick, and everything between them, the tension, the half-sentences, the long silences, started cracking the walls of our home. I saw the way my father changed. He stopped coming to her art shows. He spent more time locked in his study. He looked at me like I reminded him of something he didn't want to remember. But Mom never changed. Not with me. And that's why I knew something wasn't right. Because she wouldn't have left me with nothing. She just wouldn't. I didn't mean to start a war. I swear I didn't. All I did was ask a question. One question. Did Mom leave anything for me? It came out small, almost shy, like I was asking for something I wasn't sure I deserved. I wasn't looking for money. I didn't care about jewelry or real estate. I just wanted something. A note. A keepsake. Proof that I mattered to her, even in death. Proof that she hadn't forgotten me when everything else in her world was slipping away. But the moment those words left my mouth, something in my father shifted. His back straightened. His jaw clenched. He looked at me like I'd accused him of something vile. He didn't answer me right away. He just stared. Then he said it flat and cold. "Everything goes to me and Ryan." That's what she wanted. Ryan. My half-brother. The golden boy. The one who called her Catherine when he thought no one was listening. Not Mom. The one who never stayed home long enough to know how many sugars she took in her tea, or the way she always hummed when she painted. That can't be right. I said, too quietly, and then it was like I'd broken something sacred. He yelled. I yelled back. The air got sharp. Every word felt like shrapnel. He told me I was being greedy, ungrateful, that I had no idea how hard he worked to take care of her. But I was there too. Every chemo appointment, every bad day, every night holding her hand when she couldn't sleep. He didn't see me then. He didn't want to see me now. Later, I'd wonder if he was afraid, not of me, but of something I might find, something buried, something he thought he'd hidden well enough. I left that day feeling like I'd knocked on a door that used to be mine and been told I no longer had the key, but deep down, I knew she wouldn't have left me behind. I just had to find where she'd hidden the truth. Grief doesn't come in clean lines. It's messy, like dried paint smeared across something once beautiful. I spent days moving through my apartment like a ghost, barely eating, barely speaking, just sorting through boxes of her things I had brought back before the will even became a question. I think part of me was hoping she'd left something behind by accident. A forgotten note, a grocery list in her handwriting, anything to prove she was still here in some small way. And then, one evening, I found it. It wasn't hidden exactly, just waiting. I was thumbing through the recipe book she gave me last Christmas. Your own collection, she'd said with a soft smile, tying the ribbon around it. Now you'll never forget how to make my blueberry pie. It still smelled faintly like her vanilla, cinnamon, a hint of linseed oil from her studio. I hadn't opened it since she died. I don't know why. Maybe I wasn't ready. Maybe some part of me knew. The envelope slipped out between 2 pages wedged right between lemon tart and chicken casserole for 2. I stared at it for a long time before I touched it. My name was written across the front in her handwriting. Soft, looping letters. Aubrey. No last name, no formality. Just me. Inside there was a letter, 4 pages long, and a folded, notarized copy of a will. Her real will, dated a few months before her death. Signed, witnessed, everything in order. She left me the lake house, her art collection, a savings account she never told anyone about. She didn't forget me. She protected me in the only way she could. With what little time she had left, I pressed the pages to my chest and sobbed like I hadn't allowed myself to since the day she died. Not because I'd won anything, but because I had proof that I mattered, that I was seen, that I was hers. My mother didn't trust them, so she trusted me. And now, I had a choice. Keep the secret and walk away, or fight for what was mine. I read the letter a dozen times before I could breathe properly again. She'd written it in blue ink, the kind she always used when journaling. Her handwriting was familiar, steady even in the places where the pressure faded, like she'd paused, maybe to cry or rest or second guess. She started it like she always did. My sweet Aubrey. I broke at those words. I held the page to my face and inhaled, desperate to find her again. She wrote about the lake house, how much it meant to her, how she imagined me painting there, writing, breathing, living. She said it belonged to me, because I understood it, because it held pieces of her that no one else cared to see. And then she got quiet in her tone, like she was whispering even on paper. I don't trust what they'll do after I'm gone, she wrote. I've seen it in your father's eyes, the way he avoids hard truths. And in Ryan there's always been distance. He never wanted my stories. You did. She told me about the will she rewrote, said she didn't tell anyone because she didn't want to fight, only peace in her final months. But she tucked it into the only place she knew I'd eventually look, the recipe book. I know you'll look here, she wrote, because you remember everything I teach you, even the silly things like extra nutmeg in the pie. I cried until my body gave out. It wasn't about the lake house or the money. It was about being remembered, being seen through the fog of grief and bitterness and twisted loyalty. She saw me. She protected me. I folded the letter and placed it back into its envelope like it was something sacred. Because it was. This wasn't just a piece of paper. It was a map, a blueprint of her love, and a reminder that the truth, no matter how buried, was still mine to claim. So I picked up the phone, found a lawyer's number, and whispered the words I never thought I'd say. I have something you need to see. I didn't sleep the night after I made the call. Just stared at the ceiling in the half-dark, feeling everything and nothing at once. I kept imagining my mother writing that letter, folding it slowly, tucking it into those pages with shaking hands. I wondered if she cried, if she felt afraid, if she hesitated, but I also knew her well enough to be sure of one thing. She never did anything halfway. So when I handed that envelope to the lawyer the next morning, I did it with both hands, like it was fragile, like it might fall apart if I let go too soon. She opened it. Read every word. Her eyes softened, then sharpened, and she said, simply, "This changes everything. There's a loneliness that comes with going up against family. People talk about bravery like it's loud, like it's marching into battle. But sometimes bravery is quieter. It's sitting across from a lawyer with trembling fingers, telling her you're ready to challenge your own father in court." The process moved faster than I expected. The will was valid, fully witnessed, signed, and dated. All legal, but that didn't mean it would be easy. They'd argue it was forged. They'd say I manipulated her, that she was sick, confused, too weak to make decisions. But I wasn't scared of their stories, because I had the truth, and I had her words. We filed the paperwork within the week. I felt sick when I signed my name, like I was betraying something sacred. But that feeling faded quickly, replaced by something heavier and stronger. Resolve. I knew this wouldn't bring her back, but it could bring something else. Justice. I imagined the courtroom, the moment my father would see that letter, the second he realized his version of the story wasn't the only one anymore. I didn't want revenge. I wanted her voice to be heard. And now, I was her voice. The day of the hearing felt unreal, like I was living someone else's story. I dressed in black not because I had to, but because it felt like armor. The same shade my mother wore when she painted serious things that mattered. The courtroom was colder than I expected. The kind of cold that seeps into your skin and makes you forget what warmth ever felt like. My father sat across the room, flanked by his lawyer and Ryan, both of them stiff and unreadable. My father didn't look at me, not once. Ryan did, but it wasn't a glance. It was a glare, like I had disrupted something he believed was rightfully his. They looked so confident, so sure of their version of events. I could almost hear their thoughts. She's just emotional. She's making this up. She's trying to take what isn't hers. But then my lawyer stood up and handed the envelope to the judge. It was quiet. Unnervingly quiet. The judge read the letter, slowly, page by page, and I watched it happen. I watched a shift. My father's face, tight and proud at first, went pale. Ryan's jaw clenched so hard I thought he might crack a tooth. They didn't see it coming, because they didn't believe she'd have the strength to protect me, because they didn't believe I would find it, but the judge believed her. "Miss Carson," he said, his voice calm but firm, "we honor your mother's wishes. The will is valid. The property, the assets, the collection, they belong to you." Just like that. No shouting, no drama, just the truth spoken out loud, in front of everyone who tried to silence it. I didn't cry, not then. I just nodded, and when I stood to leave, my father finally looked at me, not with love, not with regret, but with something close to fear, because he knew. The door he slammed in my face. I'd opened one of my own, and I was never walking through his again. The first time I returned to the lake house, I stood in the gravel driveway for almost 10 minutes, just gripping the key like it might burn a hole through my palm. It had been years. The last time I was here, Mom had painted all morning with the windows wide open, music low and soft in the background. I'd fallen asleep on the porch swing, the scent of pine and lake water curling around me like a blanket. Now everything was still. The wind was quieter, the air heavier. I unlocked the door slowly. The hinges creaked the same way they used to. The floor groaned under my weight like it remembered me. And for a moment, I stood there in the threshold, unsure if I was intruding or coming home. The house was exactly how she left it. Canvases leaning against the wall, a coffee mug still on the windowsill, her reading glasses tucked into the couch. Cushions. It hit me in waves how she'd lived here while dying, How she filled these rooms with beauty even as her body gave way. How she'd chosen to give this place to me. Not Ryan. Not him. Me. Because she knew I'd see it. Not just the lake or the walls or the furniture, but her. I walked through each room like I was touching her memory with every step. Her scarf still hung behind the bedroom door. The note I wrote her years ago was pinned to her corkboard. Don't forget to eat. I love you. I sat on the back porch and watched the water move like breath that it was mine now. Not out of victory, not out of vengeance, but because she trusted me to carry it forward. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt still, like I could finally rest. He'd slammed a door in my face, but she opened a home. One filled with truth, with art, with her, and now, with me. Owning the lake house didn't undo the damage. It didn't rewind time or soften the betrayal, but it gave me space to breathe, and that alone felt like a small kind of healing. But healing has its own weight. Every room held memories, yes, but also echoes. Quiet reminders of what had been taken. Not the house, or the money, or even the paintings. What he stole was much quieter. Peace. Closure. The right to grieve without a battle. My father didn't just shut the door in my face, he tried to erase me. Tried to reduce my relationship with my mother to something transactional, like I was nothing more than a problem to be managed after she was gone. And that hurt more than anything, because for so long, he was the one who carried me on his shoulders, who cheered from the sidelines, who told me bedtime stories with a flashlight under a blanket. I believed in him. I believed he loved me. But somewhere along the way, maybe after Ryan was born, maybe after the marriage cracked beneath quiet resentments, his love narrowed, became conditional. He couldn't control Mom's choices in the end, so he tried to rewrite them. But she was smarter, braver. She didn't shout. She didn't accuse. She simply left the truth where I could find it. And now, that truth lived here. In the chipped mugs she refused to throw away. In the stack of journals in her bedside drawer. In the paintings of me young, wild-haired, always barefoot, hidden behind the ones she sold. She never stopped seeing me, even when he did. I lit a candle that night in the kitchen, made her favorite tea, sat at the counter like we used to. Late at night when the world went quiet, I whispered, "I found it, Mom." And for the first time in months, I felt her, not in memory, but in presence. He took her voice from the world, but she gave it to me, and I would not let it be silenced again. There's a quiet kind of power in starting over, not because everything's been resolved, but because you survived the parts that tried to break you. The lake house doesn't feel haunted anymore. It feels lived in, warm, alive. I repainted the front door a deep, bold blue. The same shade my mom once used on a canvas she called unapologetic. I remember watching her mix the color, brushing layer after layer until it felt like something strong enough to hold the truth. That's what I wanted when people walked through it. Honesty, wholeness, no more secrets. I still get mail addressed to her. Sometimes I let it pile up before I open it. Other times, I talk to her while I read them out loud, pretending she's right across the kitchen sipping her coffee. Some nights are harder than others. The grief sneaks up while folding her sweaters I can't bring myself to donate, or hearing a song she used to hum when she cleaned, but the ache isn't sharp anymore. It's a soft bruise, a reminder that I loved deeply and was loved in return. I haven't spoken to my father since the ruling, not because I'm angry, though I am, but because I've learned that protecting my peace matters more than reopening wounds he refuses to see. Ryan sent a message once. Just one. "You got what you wanted. Hope it was worth it." I didn't respond. He never understood this was never about wanting. It was about belonging. About truth. About a mother who dared to love her daughter even when she was fading away. This space belongs to her as much as it does to me. Every corner tells her story. And now, it tells mine too. I don't know what the future holds, but I know this. The door that was slammed in my face, I'm not walking back to knock again. This door, the one I now own, paint chipped in bold blue, will always stay open, not for those who lied, but for those who carry love like a lantern. Just like she did. Just like I will.